Isaias Afwerki's Sudan Concept Paper. A blueprint for regional hegemony or domestic control. In the tumultuous opening weeks of 2026, as the Horn of Africa grapples with escalating tensions and shifting alliances, Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki has once again inserted himself as a pivotal, albeit enigmatic, regional player. His recently unveiled Sudan Concept Paper, though not formally published, has been extensively articulated in a three-part state media interview on January 21, 2026. This document, submitted to the Sudanese Sovereign Council, offers a stark vision for Sudan's future, echoing the very principles that have shaped Eritrea under his near four-decade rule. An examination of this paper, juxtaposed with Eritrea's current internal and external realities, as reported by renowned international institutions, reveals a consistent, deeply ingrained governing philosophy that offers critical insights into the regime's ambitions and its implications for both Eritrea and the wider region. The Sudan Concept Paper, a command and control vision for a neighbor. President Afwerki's Sudan Concept Paper is less a framework for democratic transition and more a blueprint for a disciplined, military-overseen state, mirroring the structure he has painstakingly built in Eritrea. The core tenets, as presented in his extensive interview, are strikingly authoritarian. The army as sole custodian. Afwerki unequivocally positions the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, as the singular, legitimate authority for navigating the transition. The army had thus fulfilled its obligations. Indeed, as a sovereign institution of the country, the army had no other mandate than standing with the popular uprising. The army and the security forces are entrusted with a temporary tenure of trusteeship only. This declaration, issued amidst the ongoing conflict between the SAF and the RSF, redefines the struggle not as an internal civil war, but as an external invasion managed by paid agents, a narrative frequently employed by Eritrea to rationalize its own internal security postures. This approach sidelines any notion of power sharing or civilian oversight, placing ultimate authority in the hands of the military. A direct parallel to Eritrea's own governance structure, where the military party nexus, PFDJ, is paramount. Strict prohibition of political competition. Perhaps the most revealing aspect of the paper is its outright rejection of pluralistic politics during Sudan's transition. The concept paper we submitted precluded competition between the political parties in the transition phase. It serves as a bridge to safety. In more explicit terms, these tasks consist of the establishment of a citizenship-based system that genuinely represents the will of the people without racial, religious, and other divisions. This mandate, which views political parties as sources of division rather than democratic expression, directly reflects Eritrea's reality, where all opposition parties are banned, and the ruling PFDJ maintains a monopoly on political activity. The emphasis on a citizenship-based system, devoid of racial, religious, and other divisions, can be interpreted as a means to dismantle traditional power bases and tribal affiliations that might challenge centralized state control. A limited, military-led transition timeline. The paper imposes a rigid time frame for the military's custodianship. The duration of the transition phase would at least be 2 years, and not, in any case, longer than 3 years. It would subsequently hand over its entrusted mandate to the people. While seemingly offering an endpoint, the lack of clarity on how power is transferred to the people and who defines the people's will leaves ample room for a controlled, rather than democratic, succession, akin to the enduring nature of Eritrea's own transitional government. Rejection of external intervention. Afwerki's paper vociferously dismisses international and regional mediation efforts, specifically targeting the Quad. A peace initiative stemming from wrong perception of the underlying causes of the conflict cannot yield the desired results. One could ask relevant questions about the Quad. Which are its members? How and when was it constituted? For what objectives? One could write books about its multi-layered facets. This stance mirrors Eritrea's long-standing suspicion of external actors and its preference for bilateral, often covert diplomacy, enabling it to operate outside international norms and accountability frameworks. This principle underscores a core tenet of Isaias's foreign policy, an unwavering belief in national sovereignty to the point of isolation. Eritrea in January 2026, a reflection of the concept paper. The Sudan concept paper is not merely foreign policy advice, it is a mirror reflecting Eritrea's internal governance under Afwerki, illuminated by recent reports from global institutions. As of late January 2026, Reuters, Africa Confidential, and the International Crisis Group paint a consistent picture of a highly centralized, militarized state grappling with economic stagnation, regional tensions, and persistent human rights concerns. Political and security developments. The escalating border tensions with Ethiopia, marked by war of words and reinforced troop positions, highlight Eritrea's perennial state of military readiness. The crystallization of a Red Sea alliance between Somalia, Eritrea, and Egypt is a strategic move to counter Ethiopia's ambitions for sovereign sea access, a clear demonstration of Eritrea's active role in shaping regional power dynamics through calculated alliances. This diplomatic maneuvering is executed from Afwerki's preferred Adi Halo hub, a secluded base of operations indicative of his operational style, away from conventional government centers. Economic climate. Eritrea's economy remains trapped in a stagnation crisis, with 80% of the GDP controlled by state and military interests. This command economy, sustained by the Bisha gold mine and diaspora remittances, mirrors the non-political economic model envisioned for Sudan, where state control supersedes market forces or private enterprise. Productivity is severely suppressed by the indefinite national service, which effectively transforms a significant portion of the workforce into state-controlled labor, echoing the idea of a population mobilized for national development under strict governmental guidance. Human rights and international standing. Eritrea's ongoing efforts to terminate the mandate of the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights, coupled with its refusal to grant access to independent experts, reflect a deep-seated rejection of external scrutiny. This resistance to international accountability is precisely the kind of autonomy that the Sudan concept paper advocates for, free from the external agendas of bodies like the UN or the Quad. Reports from the U.S. State Department and NGOs on transnational repression against diaspora critics further illustrate the regime's pervasive control, extending its reach beyond national borders, a characteristic often found in highly authoritarian states that view dissent as an existential threat. Theoretical explanations and global comparisons. Afwerki's approach, both domestically and as advised for Sudan, aligns closely with several academic theories of authoritarianism and state-building. From a political science perspective, Eritrea exemplifies a totalitarian state, characterized by a single ruling party, PFDJ, an all-encompassing ideology, often revolving around self-reliance and national defense, and extensive social control through institutions like national service. The Sudan concept paper reflects a desire to export elements of this model. A Praetorian state, where the military is the primary political actor, suppressing civil society and political competition. This is a common feature of post-colonial states where military leaders often frame themselves as the only guarantors of national unity and stability. From an economic perspective, Eritrea operates as a command economy, with state ownership or control over most productive assets. This contrasts sharply with market-oriented economies and even many mixed economies. The economic stagnation, despite resource wealth, is a predictable outcome when political control trumps economic efficiency and individual initiative. This model is seen in regimes like North Korea, where self-reliance, juche, is a core ideology, leading to economic isolation and reliance on state-controlled industries. In international relations, Eritrea's foreign policy is best understood through the lens of realism, prioritizing state survival, security, and power projection in a perceived anarchic regional environment. Its strategic alliances, e.g., the Red Sea Alliance, and alleged proxy support, e.g., Fano rebels, are classic realist tactics to enhance its relative power and counter perceived threats. Its rejection of multilateral mediation aligns with a Westphalian sovereignty perspective, emphasizing the inviolability of national borders and non-interference in internal affairs, often used by states seeking to avoid external accountability for domestic practices. Comparing Eritrea with similar regimes globally, the parallels with North Korea are striking. Both are highly militarized, single-party states with cults of personality around their leaders, indefinite national service, and a deep distrust of external influence. Both prioritize national self-reliance, and Korea's juche, over integration into the global economy, leading to economic stagnation but perceived strategic autonomy. Historically, Cuba under Fidel Castro also exhibited elements of a command economy, a strong military presence in national life, and a highly centralized political system, though with a different ideological foundation. Even within Africa, some single-party states post-independence exhibited similar tendencies, but few have maintained such a rigid and closed system for so long. Critical analysis and insight. What does this mean for Eritrea? President Afwerki's Sudan concept paper is not a benevolent advisory. It is a profound articulation of his unyielding political philosophy and a strategic attempt to reshape the region in Eritrea's image, or at least in a manner conducive to Eritrea's security interests. For Eritrea, reinforcement of the status quo. The paper reaffirms the regime's commitment to its authoritarian model. It signals that there will be no domestic political liberalization or economic reform in Eritrea, as the principles it advocates for Sudan are the very ones governing Eritrea. The lack of political competition, the dominance of the military, and the rejection of external scrutiny are deeply ingrained. Continued isolation and economic hardship. By advocating for a similar isolationist and military-dominated model for Sudan, Eritrea implicitly commits itself to continued global isolation. This rejection of external engagement and market forces will likely perpetuate the stagnation crisis and food insecurity, despite localized good harvests, keeping Eritrea one of Africa's most fragile states, as identified by global economic monitors. The reliance on remittances and mining revenue, rather than diversified economic growth, will continue. Entrenchment of leadership. The concept paper offers insight into the long-term vision of Afwerki. It suggests a future where political dissent is suppressed and power remains centralized, potentially beyond his own tenure, through a system that emphasizes loyalty and national service over democratic principles. The internal fissures reported by Africa. Confidential within the security architecture suggests that while the state appears monolithic, the economic strain is beginning to test the loyalty of lower-level cadres. This proposed regional blueprint could also be a way to secure internal stability by projecting power externally. The war of words and proxy allegations are not just rhetorical. They carry a genuine risk of renewed conflict, which would further devastate an already volatile Horn of Africa and strain Eritrea's limited resources. Why is this so? The persistence of this model is rooted in several factors. Liberation War legacy. Afwerki and his inner circle are products of a brutal, decades-long liberation struggle. This has instilled a profound sense of self-reliance, distrust of external powers, and a belief that national unity and survival are paramount, justifying any means to achieve them. The experience shaped a command and control mentality. Perceived external threat. the ongoing border dispute with Ethiopia, and the history of intervention in the region, e.g., the UN's role in the border arbitration, the Quad, reinforce a siege mentality, justifying a highly militarized state and the suppression of dissent as essential for national security. Ideological consistency. The PFDJ's ideology emphasizes national cohesion over individual liberties, and development through collective effort rather than individual enterprise. This is not simply pragmatism, but a deeply held belief system. Lack of accountability. Without free press, independent judiciary, or democratic institutions, there are no internal checks and balances on the president's power, allowing his personal vision to dictate national policy and even shape regional dynamics. In conclusion, President Isaias Afwerki's Sudan concept paper is far more than a diplomatic suggestion. It is a revealing window into the operational logic of the Eritrean state and its leaders' ambitions for regional influence. While framed as a path to safety for Sudan, it ultimately champions a model of governance that has kept Eritrea in a state of political isolation, economic stagnation, and human rights concern. For Eritrea, adherence to this philosophy means continued adherence to its unique, deeply entrenched authoritarian path, with significant implications for its people and the perilous stability of the Horn of Africa.